welcome to Season 3 of the Mediumship Matters podcast. My name is Hannah McIntyre and I'm an evidential medium. But I'm nothing special, and I mean that. I love that spirit connection and communication is available to all of us. This podcast is to help clear the misinformation, inspire and educate you on your journey with spirit, and share the reality of being a demonstrating medium in the real world. Join me as we learn how to use the miraculous presence of spirit in our lives to heal, manifest and inspire, and make sense of the point of it all. Why are we here? With great guest interviews, up-to-the-minute channeled guidance and inspiration, and your questions answered, it's no wonder we've reached top 10 in the spiritual charts. And whether you've just jumped in for this episode right now or you've listened to them all in order, you're exactly where you're meant to be. Let's begin. Hello and welcome to Season 3 of Mediumship Matters. Whoop whoop! And happy 2023. I hope that you have missed me as much as I've missed you. As you know, I'm not good at taking a break, and I have really tried. Not good at it, but I've tried. But I really couldn't wait to get back to recording and chatting with you all. This is definitely my favourite thing to do. I love it. So I wanted to start Season 3 with a sort of back to basics. And I think that this is really important, even if you've heard me talking about this stuff before, because the information I'm receiving is always upgrading and changing, and this is my most up-to-date view on things. And we're going to start this season with some real education, some real experiences and ideas and expansion exercises and all sorts of things I've got planned. I'm very excited. So here we are. Now, I wanted to start right at the very beginning with the foundation of energy and experiencing and perceiving, receiving energy. And it's really important to know that you are like a radio, and you can tune yourself in to whichever frequency you choose to. And it's important to understand that you are the one that chooses the frequency. The spirit world do not set you up for which you are going to receive. You choose. You choose where you are tuned into. So just like when you turn on your old FM radio, you choose whether you are tuned in to Radio 1, Radio 2, Heart FM, whatever frequency you have set it to. And that is the same for your energy. Now, regardless of which frequency, which I will talk about in a minute, you tune into, you are perceiving energy. And we perceive energy through the clairs. Now, I'm sure if you're on a spiritual development journey, you've heard of them. And often when people come to see me to learn, they like to tell me which clair they work with. And then I, like the perpetual bubble popper, say, well, actually, I think you can perceive and receive information through all the clairs. And I stand by that. You might have one that is slightly more active than the others that you find easier, but they are all available to all of us. So there is seeing information, which is clairvoyance. Now, seeing information is very rarely done with your actual physical eyes. For most of us, it's seeing a picture in our mind's eye. So if I was to say to you right now, imagine a teddy bear, it's like that. It's the teddy bear. And then we have got clairaudience, which is hearing the spirit world. And guess what, guys? It's not hearing a separate voice outside of your head most of the time. It's that voice in your head, that voice that says, oh my goodness, why are they wearing that? That's not very flattering. The voice that says everybody in this room hates you and doesn't like you. The voice that says, do you remember that really embarrassing thing you did in 1996? Here it is again. The voice that lists your to-do list is the same voice that will hear and perceive that energy. So sometimes there's words in your head. Sometimes it's just a knowing. You just know something and you don't know how you know it. You just do. Sometimes there is the feeling of it and you sit with the emotion and the energy and the experience of it. Sometimes you will taste it. Sometimes you will smell it. Sometimes you will see a colour and you'll be able to delve into that colour and find out what it represents. So there's loads of different ways that we perceive and receive energy. And that's important to understand too. Now, I think that this is a mutual experience. So if you're working in one of the frequencies where you're communicating with spirit, I think sometimes they send it to you a certain way, but for the most part, we choose how we receive the information. Whether it's conscious or subconscious, we choose. So you've got that energy coming in and you are receiving it through the different clairs, through those different senses, through those different experiences. I know, it's a lot, isn't it? And then you have got the different frequencies that you tune your radio into. And for me, there are 5 different frequencies that I like my students to work in. There is psychic, there is spirit guide, there is evidential mediumship, there is healing, and there is trance. Now, psychic is energy communication in this dimension. It is not about communicating with the spirit world. It is about communicating with the energy on the earth plane. Now, of course, in some sense, you are communicating with the spirit world because all of us humans have got a little bit of our soul here, haven't we? But generally speaking, you are communicating with the energy of this physical incarnation, this physical space. So whether you are reading somebody's aura, or reading a photograph, or an object, or looking at the energy of a space or a plant or an animal, that's all psychic. And psychic can sometimes lead into one of the other frequencies. I think psychic is the foundation of all other energy communications, but we'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. So that is psychic. It's me reading your energy, you reading my energy, and that's where you get that, we're in it all the time. You know when you get that thing where you suddenly think of a friend and then all of a sudden they text you, or you get a feeling that something's going to happen today and then something does happen and you think, I knew it, I knew something was up. That is psychic, and we work in that frequency, I think, most of us all the time. We're always in it. When I was a child, my brother was in his high chair at home and I was at school and I fell over and hurt my knee, and he was in the high chair at home and he said, Hannah's fallen over, Hannah hurt her knee. And he knew. And that's because I have such a strong bond with my siblings psychically, that we can feel those things. There's been times when I know that something is going down at home and I know to ring, and that has been because of that bond. It's like the Force in Star Wars. I can feel when there's a disruption in it. And I think we work in psychic a lot. You know when you just know somebody's having a bad day no matter how they look, or you can tell somebody's energy's off and you know they're going to get ill. And it's a wonderful, amazing energy to sit in. And I think it's a really good entry level energy, and it's really, really valuable. Lots of people turn their nose up at psychic, but I think it's really, really important. And then we have, let's go straight to healing. So healing energy does what it says on the tin. You are becoming that vessel for healing energy to come in from spirit and out to yourself or whoever you are healing. And for me, healing energy is the ultimate surrender. So this is not about control. This is not about knowing what's happening. It's not about knowing where it's going. It's not about you at all. You just surrender to that flow and allow it to be. And I think a lot of healers are trained to work psychically. So they're sort of sitting a bridge across two frequencies, and I don't necessarily think that's a good thing, if I'm honest, where they are trying to assess, trying to understand, trying to interpret, where's this energy going, what does this person need, where do I feel like they're in need of healing, what physical part of their body needs alignment. And really, in the truest sense, healing is just a surrender. It's you going into a space where spirit take the wheel and they do the healing, and you don't control or worry about where it's going or how it's going down at all. Now, trance is the frequency that is the deepest blend with the spirit world. And this is where you give up your physical self as much as possible. And spirit are very clear to me that it's impossible to give up your full self. I always thought that maybe one day I'd get to this space where I was completely gone. Not possible, because then we would in fact be in the spirit world ourselves, and that's not what we're here for. But where you give up the most of your physical self and you allow spirit to blend so strongly with you that your guides and helpers can speak through you or move your body. And trance is not for beginners, generally speaking, although I have heard it said that trance is a great, is the best place to start for beginners. So I guess it depends where you're at. But if you're not in a full state of trust with the spirit world, I think it would be a lot. It's a very strange feeling when your physical self starts moving or speaking and it's not you doing it. But again, an amazing energy to sit in. Oh my gosh, you can't beat it. And then, of course, we have the spirit guide frequency, which is about communicating with spirit guides, getting information from spirit guides, inspiration, guidance, as the name suggests. And this is a wonderful frequency to sit in. And I find personally, it's an easy energy to sit in. I could sit in the spirit guide frequency much more than the evidential frequency, and I think that's because you have to go into more of an altered state for the evidential. Spirit guides, on some level, we have communicated with our spirit guides our entire lives, whether we're aware of it or not, and so it's less of a change for our energy when we move into a space where spirit guides are there and communicating. It's kind of a naturalness to it. Then, of course, we've got the evidential mediumship frequency, and this is such an interesting one to sit in because it's very much defined by us, defined by what we are seeking as a medium and what we believe makes good evidence and good information, and also for our sitters. So that energy is a collaboration between you, the spirit world, and your sitter, and you are trying to get factual information from the spirit world to prove the continued existence of the human spirit. Does that all make sense? It's a lot, isn't it? Episode 1, we're hitting it hard, but this is the understanding that I think every medium needs to have. And you would have heard in season 2 when I interviewed other teachers, TJ Higgs and Lynn Parker, both mentioned the importance of knowing where your frequency is, what energy you're in. And it's something that was never taught to me. And the only reason I found out about it is because I went to see a medium in a pub near me, and bless her, it was like a car crash. 1 minute she was talking about people's auras and the colour of their auras. The next minute she was saying she was connecting to a male figure. The moment after that she was doing future predictions, and it was like riding a roller coaster. You weren't sure where she was getting it from and how she was getting it. And I actually think that she was just moving through all the frequencies with no control. And that's not her fault. I wasn't taught this either. It's something that when I started watching her work, and I was like, what is going on here? That I then asked my guides about, and they then showed me. And if you can imagine those, they used to be around in the 80s. They're like a glass globe with an electric orb in them, and you can put your finger on it and you can see like the electricity moving to your finger. And I remember going on a school trip, and there was a really big one of those. I think it might have been the Science Museum in London. It could have been somewhere else. And I had my hand on it, and it was going really big, thick line into my hand. And then some of my classmates came over, and they all put their hands on it, and then everyone got a lesser stream of energy. And every time I speak to spirit about frequencies, this is how they show it to me. If you are doing evidential mediumship, but you're also trying to communicate with your guides, you are splitting your energy, so you'll get less of both. If you are doing an evidential link and you are working psychically, you will get less of both because your energy is split. So what you want to do as a developing medium is be very controlled. Now for me, it's always tuning in my radio to whichever frequency I want to be, setting that intention. And you can do it however you want. You can just say, I am working psychically right now. I am working with evidential mediumship right now. But there should be nothing in between. And I know I'm very Capricorn, but actually it really, really works. I've had in practice groups some really unsatisfying readings where I have really wanted a spirit communication. Even though I do this for a living, you'd think that I get loads of spirit links, but I don't. And I have been on courses at colleges where I've done a whole week and I've done 27 spirit links, evidential spirit links, and I haven't even had one back that I can take because people keep going, I've got a spirit guide here for you. And that isn't what I want. So it's an interesting thing, isn't it, when you don't have the control. I don't generally get spirit guides through. There's always the odd exception, and I will never fall into the trap of saying for definite, but I don't generally get spirit guides through when I'm doing evidential mediumship because to me they are separate frequencies. You are working in one or the other. Just like I don't think it's great when you go to see a healer and they start talking about the spirit communicators that have come forward, because yes, of course your loved ones in the spirit world will step forward to help with your healing, but that doesn't mean they're there to communicate. And if that healer has picked them up psychically when they should have been working with healing, then they haven't given me what I've asked for. They've given me what their ego wants to give me for validation. I know. So it's really important to set that intention of where you want to work. And I think it's really important as a developing medium to work in all of them so that you can understand them, but also so you've got a really strong foundation in perceiving and receiving energy. Because whether you are working psychically and you are picking something up from somebody's aura in front of you, or you are communicating with a spirit guide, you will receive that energy the same way. And so the more you develop all of the different skill sets in the different frequencies, the stronger a medium you can become. And interestingly, I think that psychic is the foundation to all of it, because I think when somebody comes for a reading, you need to use your psychic abilities to tailor the reading to them. So always when someone comes for a reading, I try to perceive them and what I feel that they are looking for. And some people just want you to be all business and get straight on with it. And some people are nervous and want to settle into it and just feel comfortable in the space. And some people have had bad experiences in readings before and need that to be dealt with. There's so many different reasons why it's good to start in psychic before you move yourself into evidential or spirit guide or wherever you're working. And when you become adept at it, you can move between them much more easily. But you should also always be aware of where you are working, which energy you're working in. And that's where some mediums fall down, because they don't even question. They don't even know. They haven't been educated to understand that there are different frequencies. They kind of just move with a flibbity-gibbet into the spirit world and just into the universe and say, whoever's there, come through. And that doesn't work. Because you're opening yourself up to all of the energies and you need some control in it. So here we are. We are learning always to perceive and receive through different frequencies. And what you can do now to just start this off is just practice tuning in to the different frequencies and sitting in the energy of it. I'm sitting in the psychic frequency right now. This is how it feels. I'm moving into the spirit guide frequency now. This is how it feels. And spending a bit of time in each one, because it won't happen instantly. But the more that you do it and the more that you move between them, the more that you will understand the differences and the nuances in the feelings of them. And it's important to know. It's interesting to me. I'm still using interesting as an adjective, guys. Please feel free to email in any other suggestions, but it's how I feel. That you can do a passable spirit link in the psychic frequency. Because if somebody comes to you for a reading and they have driven to you, or they've got ready in the Zoom room and they've been thinking about who they want to hear from and whether they'll come through today and if they'll be lucky enough to hear from them, and then they come into that space, if you perceive their energy, you'll be able to feel in their energy field the evidence that you're pulling forward. And so it's always a thing for me when mediums bring through stuff that people have forgotten about or that they don't know but that can be verified later. Because those bits of information, have not been pulled out of that person's energy. They have come directly from the spirit world. And when you're working in the evidential mediumship frequency, you can build a real presence of the spirit with you. And that presence of the spirit with you will take everybody in the room on that journey with you. And it's got more facets to it, more energy to it, more presence of the spirit world with it. So if you're going to watch other mediums, and I hope if you're developing, you are taking every opportunity to go and watch as many mediums as you possibly can, you can sit there and you can think to yourself psychically, which energy frequency do I feel that they are in? What frequency are they working? And you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed how many mediums are working psychically when they think that they are working evidentially. Now, does it matter? Well, actually, I think it does. Because if you give me a message from you working psychically, that's one thing. If you tell me that that message has come from my guides or from my loved ones in the spirit world, it's got a bit more kudos, hasn't it? I will sit up and listen to it. If someone's working psychically, it's easy. You think, okay, maybe they've got that a bit wrong. Maybe they misunderstood that. Maybe they're perceiving it through their filter, which is true, of course, of all forms of mediumship. But when somebody very definitively looks at you and says, the spirit world is saying, slow down, you believe that to be true as if it came from spirit. And sometimes it's come from them. So psychic is energy to energy in this dimensional space. Healing is about just acquiescing completely and being that channel for the healing energy and trusting it will go where it needs to go. Trance is allowing spirit to take over your physical body to a certain extent, to communicate or move it, or again to do healing. It's like an advanced healing energy. Spirit guides is communicating with that presence, those guides and helpers who we all have in our lives, bringing in that information, that guidance, that insight. And evidential is pulling through from the spirit world evidence that can be taken, factual information that proves the continued existence of the human spirit, as well as messages and love from them. I hope that this all makes sense as we start this new season. And as always, if you've got a question, email me, podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk. And I look forward to catching up with you again soon.